Hey, this is Ron with the Radiologic Technologist.com blog and I always say podcast, blog and YouTube channel. There is a podcast, but that's another story. I just got off a grueling 50-minute talk on that I gave for service contract negotiations for imaging equipment. Doesn't that sound like fun on a Saturday morning at 8:30 in the morning? So anyway, we do what we do, right? We do it because we love radiology. That's why we do it. But I got a couple of messages this morning that I was kind of looking at out of the corner of my eye, and thought I'd answer them since I'm already in front of the camera. Let's go ahead and answer this. And the summary of this question is, what's the best shift to work? But let's read the question. And this is starts out. I love the content in your blog and video. So thanks for that. Always like hearing that. Says currently in school for rad tech, and I'm thinking about specialty and work environment. I would personally, like a position where the drama would be low. Um, Good luck there. We all want that. But I have found it, so hang tight. And have talked to nurses about this. Why would you talk to nurses about what's going on in the radiology department? Of course, nurses, I get it. They deal with drama as well, so I can get that. But wanted to see as an admin if you could offer some insight. What combo of shift, specialty, and large versus small hospital or clinic would you recommend in order to achieve low drama and high morale? Which is, of course, the perfect job, right? I was thinking of CT tech, small rural hospital, second or third shift. Any help would be greatly appreciated. And um, let's see. Well, where does low morale come from? Low morale comes from the jack wagon in the department, right? So the odds of having a jack wagon decrease with the less amount of people you have on your shift, right? Now, that doesn't mean you can't get one on the night shift when there's only two of you. The other person can be a jack wagon, but odds are they're not. Odds are on your day shift models at your large hospitals where you've got 20, 30 techs running around easily, you're going to have a couple of them in there. And you've got your negative Nellies that like to talk down everything from equipment to personnel to patients to whatever. And then you've got people that are just having a bad day. If you got 30 techs running around, somebody in that group's having a bad day. And so I would steer you, and of course, this is all opinion, right? This is my opinion, and everybody has their own opinion. But what I found most rewarding, and I'll tell you all the reasons why, is the night shift. That's what you're calling third shift in a small hospital. And here's why, for these reasons. In a small hospital, you should be or usually are using multimodality technologists. You really can't run a small hospital, a critical access hospital, like a 20-bed hospital, and have a dedicated Xray tech and a dedicated CT tech and a dedicated ultrasound tech and a dedicated MRI tech. It's too costly. You can't afford that. So you cross train everybody on everything. And that's good for you as the tech because your value goes up every time you learn a new modality. And if they don't pay you more every time you learn a new modality, you leave because you should get paid more because you're bringing in more money for the department. They can bill more money for an MRI than they can for an X-ray. So on the night shift, there's less people, so there's less negative Nellies, or less chance of a negative Nelly. Um, there's no admin walking around. You very, very rarely will catch admin on the night shift. Maybe on second. Some of them might work till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, but none of them are going to come in unless they have to at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so the small hospital, the night shift, and then, you were thinking CT tech, but it really could, you're going to have to be a multimodality in a small hospital. My favorite shift was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night shift because then I got all week off. And you think, well, don't you want weekends, to go play? But think about it. When's everybody else playing? Everybody else is playing on the weekend. So the lakes are crowded. The malls are crowded. The grocery store is crowded. If you're off Monday through Thursday, everything's wide open for the most part. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday night plus, not only do you have the best days off because there's not as many people out there, but you get all the shift differentials. So you should be getting a third shift diff or shift differential, which means you get paid more because hospitals know not many people want to give up their going to bed at regular times, or so a lot of people can't handle staying up all night. It's kind of a talent, if you will. So you get paid more for working the night shift, and then you get paid more for working the weekend shift because people have this thing that they don't want to work weekends because that's playtime. Playtime is when you say it is. So you get more for the nights, more for the weekends, and then you're a multimodality tech, so you're getting paid more for doing multiple modalities. So I don't think any of the other stuff you mentioned matters at the end of your message. Let's see. So that covers shift, specialty, and large versus small. And then, morale and drama really go hand in hand, right? It's also kind of up to you to keep that elevated, regardless of what shift you're on. If you end up on a day shift because you have to for some reason, you need to be the person to help show what an elevated morale is. One of my favorite quotes is about how the worst evil of all is a good person who stands by and does nothing in the face of evil. We have to stand up and elevate the room. We have to be the change you want to see in the world, so to speak. So if you do get stuck working somewhere that's negative, you've got to toe the line on what should be being talked about and what good patient care should be given and those kinds of things. So it's also another good reason to be a PRN starting out, because a PRN tech can first of all, you can say yes or no to shifts when they're offered. And it also gives you a good sense of what that department is like. I did a video, I think it was yesterday, about toxic work environments. And it was because I was a PRN tech in a facility that sucked that I could have just chosen to leave. Unfortunately, things went south faster than I could have imagined with those people. But as a PRN, you're able to assess what's going on before you make a total commitment. And that's really key. That's something that should be in your mind when you're applying for jobs. A lot of people say, well, I want to jump out and get a full-time position on day shift. I want to work 8 to 5 so I can go home and be with my family or whatever and have weekends off. Well, first of all, those positions are usually held by the people with seniority. You got to work your way up to that. Somebody on second shift is going to have priority to get an opening on first shift before a new hire. So just get it in your mind that you're probably going to have to start off as a PRN and do it at multiple places. I PRN'd at 3 places when I started out. I checked them all out. You get a feel for them. Plus, as a student, you're already going to have a feel for it. So if you're doing clinical rotation somewhere and that's a toxic environment on day shift, don't sign up for a shift on day shift. Try to get in on second or nights, or even just be a PRN and do the 4-hour morning run and do portable X-rays in the morning or whatever. I will mention too, though, because you did talk about work environment. There are, clinics instead of hospitals. There are clinics, there are doctor's offices. There's a doctor's office in a small nearby town near me that is so small that they really can't even employ an X-ray tech. What we agreed on during kind of negotiations, if you will, was that somebody is going to do X-ray and lab. And some people may squirm when they hear that. I came from the lab before X-ray, so I had no issue with the concept. And the concept was simply, you don't take a phlebotomist and teach them X-ray, because you can't do that. You have to have a license to do X-ray. So you take an X-ray tech who is willing to learn the aspects of drawing blood. And because we're already trained on how to do blood pressures and take temperatures and all basic care, we're taught that in X-ray school. And even venipuncture we're taught in X-ray school. and starting IVs. So it's not that big of a jump to ask an X-ray tech to do a blood draw and send it to a lab. And so that person kind of had a unique opportunity to not only do X-rays for this small clinic, but to expand their skill set and do blood draw. So they learn what all the different tubes are for and all the different types of lab testing, which is kind of a bonus to that tech. What tech gets to do that, right? But what you have to be careful of, the flip side of that coin, is that person's not going to get any OR. They're not going to get any fluoro. They're not going to get any major traumas. It's going to be pretty much walkie-talkies, chest and abdomens, extremities, basic stuff. And so, you know, you kind of have to ask yourself, what do you want to see? I think coming out of school, so I think that clinic that I just spoke of is a good gig for the end of your career, when you're kind of winding things down. You don't have quite the physical stamina of running around like crazy and lifting heavy patients and the stress that can come with level 1 traumas. Migrate to one of those kind of positions where you're in a nice, slower outpatient clinic and maybe you do some additional duties to help out some back office stuff. When you're first coming out, you need to try and keep your doors open. You need to learn as much as you can, because you never know where you're going to be left to apply. Your town may have 3 major level 1 trauma centers, and so you can get tons of experience, or your town may not. It may have a level 4 only. So I hope that's kind of answered your question on what the options are. My favorite was that I was at that night shift for 10 years, loved it. The night shift has so many benefits. I mean, I went to ultrasound school while I was on the night shift, so I was able to do my homework when there wasn't any. I mean, there were nights when I wouldn't have any patients at all. You're talking a 12-hour shift with no patients, and when you're the only one in the department, nobody's going to yell at you for doing homework, right? And of course, you want to have an understanding with your employer that during downtime you're going to be doing your homework or whatever. But you're not going to be able to do that on day shift, and you probably won't get away with it on second shift either. And in the smaller hospitals, you're probably not even going to have all 3 shifts. It's probably going to be a 7A to 7P and 7P to 7A, and you have your day shift people and your night shift people, and you may rotate in there, 4 and 3 or something like 4 10s and 3 12s, something like that. But you mentioned your age and your ethnicity. Neither one of those matter. You should be able to do just as good of a job as anybody else. And you specifically asked about drama and morale, and that has nothing to do with those 2 factors. So I wish you the best of luck. If you have any other questions, hit me up, leave me a comment. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. I'm still trying to grow the channel to get the word out there. And if you haven't seen Ray's channel yet, I'm trying to promote his channel. He's a young and upcoming X-ray technologist who's still in school, and he's blogging on YouTube about his experiences. And I think that's awesome. For so long, hospitals have had such a clamp on us that we can't talk about anything for fear of HIPAA violations and all that. And that should not stop us from sharing our experiences and our daily lives of what we're doing and how we're doing it, and helping each other to grow in the field. Obviously, you don't want to use patient names or identifiers and that kind of thing, but I'm happy to see technologists now starting to do YouTube channels and talk about what it was like applying for school and what it was like sitting through the interviews. And I hope to see more of those. And I'm certainly going to try to put more of those kind of videos out there on what it was like when I went through interviews, but on the other side of the table, which is how I interview and what I look for in interviewees, what I expect you to, minimum level of dress, and why I ask certain questions, what kind of answers I'm looking for. I've got a blog post on that already. I reversed engineered and a video, I believe, reverse engineering the questions so you can see why we ask what we ask in those interviews. So anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.